Hi, I'm David Michael Boje. My Christian name, well, they named me for David the Beloved in the Bible, Michael the Archangel, and the word Boje means buoy, like a buoy in a harbor. It's from the Danish part of my ancestry. Now today, I'm going to talk to you about my other name, Arihanta. It means conqueror of inner enemies, and I have no inner enemies. Everyone is my friend. So that's what we'll talk about today in this video. So when I was at a conference, the Organizational Behavior Teaching Conference in Pennsylvania, right, I saw this beautiful curly-haired woman in a cafeteria line at the conference, and it was a long line, and I went in behind her and I said, "Hey," and nobody heard me. So I stepped in behind the woman with the curly hair, and I heard her say, "I'm only going to date vegetarians. My husband, he's a meat eater, and now he's an ex, and I don't want to cook that meat stuff anymore." So I raised my hand and I said, "Hey, I'm a vegetarian. I heard you say vegetarian. What's good here?" And with that, in a nanosecond, I became a vegetarian. I didn't know what to eat in that cafeteria because I'd never done it before. And so she took beans and she took, I don't know, she skipped the lettuce and she skipped all the meats, everything that was interesting. A couple of garbanzo beans and some seeds. And I said, "Oh, this looks really good." And so this is all about how a thought, like "that's a beautiful woman," comes into my mind. And then I speak a word, "I'm a vegetarian." And then I have to take the action and become a vegetarian right then and there. So this is about Gurudev Chitrabhanu, who I met after Grace Ann, my wife now, and she took me to India several times, and she took me to meet Gurudev Chitrabhanu. And Gurudev gave me that Jain name, and I meditated on it for a year. I think I told you before, and came back and say, "Listen, I'm tired of conquering my inner enemies with this Arihanta name. How about a new name?" He said, "No, it doesn't mean that. It means everyone's your friend." Now today you get the friend part, how to make the whole world a friendship, right? And it starts with your inner thoughts and feelings and how to transform them. And I'm going to let it be displayed here for you. And I'm becoming a Jain seer, someone who sees with the third eye right here between your eyebrows and balances these two eyes, the physical eyes, right? So we'll give you the steps, and whatever your faith, we in Jain, we accept them all. So enjoy the video, all right?
Today, we're diving into a really cool idea from David Michael Boje. It's all about how a single, instantaneous thought can completely change the entire path of your life. We're going to break down how that happens and, more importantly, how you can tap into that same power yourself. I mean, it's a huge question, right? Think about it. We have thousands of thoughts every single day, but have you ever had one that just felt different? Like a lightning bolt that hits you out of nowhere and suddenly everything changes. For the author, this was that lightning bolt moment. Just 4 simple words, a realization that kicked off this incredible, unbelievable chain of events. So what happened next? Okay, so picture this. There's this long, slow line at a conference cafeteria. The author, David Boje, spots a woman and has that lightning bolt thought. He just feels this pull to get closer, and as he does, he overhears this tiny, crucial piece of a conversation. She says she'll only date vegetarians. And in that split second, a thought becomes a word, and that word becomes an action. He didn't just say he was a vegetarian. In that very moment, he became one. It's this incredible power that we're here to unpack today. So what's really going on here? What's the deeper principle behind this wild story? Well, it all boils down to two key concepts in communication: the idea of being with ourselves and communicating between each other. Let's break that down. You know, we all learned the 5 W's in school: who, what, when, where, and why. But Boje throws a sixth one into the mix: with. I want you to think of with as a key. In a world that's just full of noise and confusion, this key can unlock a much deeper, more authentic way to connect. So here's the difference. With is your internal state. It's how connected you are with your own inner self. Between is the external stuff, the actual dialogue that happens in that space connecting you to other people. And the core idea here is that you can't really have a meaningful between conversation until you are first truly with yourself. So how do we actually use this key? How do we get good at this state of being with? Well, the source material points us toward a really fascinating concept: our inner third eye. In Sanskrit, this is called agya, which means the eye of inner wisdom. Now, before this sounds too mystical, think of it more as a metaphor for your intuition, that command center for your inner perception. This is the eye that allowed the author to recognize that pivotal moment and just act without a second of hesitation. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly sums up the whole process. It's a direct chain reaction from our internal world straight to our external world. And that third eye is the metaphorical spot where we learn to watch those thoughts before they actually become our reality. Okay, this is a really powerful theory, but how do we actually apply it? Lucky for us, the source gives us a very practical 7-step guide for cultivating this inner wisdom. All right, let's walk through these first few steps. Step 1 is control. Think of this as your defense, building a mental filter for all the negativity that comes our way. Step 2 is command. This is your offense, taking conscious control of your own thoughts in your own words. Step 3 is about meditation and making a choice, actively saying yes to what helps you and no to what holds you back. And step 4 introduces a tool, the mantra prajna, which helps focus your intention. Moving on, step 5 is to discern. This is about using that intuition to see past the surface level, to spot deception, or just to understand what's not being said. Step 6 is all about purpose, making sure your daily actions actually line up with your deeper values. And finally, step 7 is to choose. This is where it all comes together. You proactively use this awareness to attract positive people and build truly meaningful connections. So, what exactly is prajna? It's a Sanskrit word that means wisdom with compassion. Here's the difference. It's one thing to know your friend made a mistake. It's another thing entirely to know how to talk to them about it with kindness and support. That second part, that's prajna. The mantra is just a tool to help you grow that balanced state of being. You know, getting a handle on these steps isn't really about being perfect. It's more about changing how we see our daily efforts. And that brings us to a timeless metaphor that really puts everything into perspective. We all know this famous line from Shakespeare, right? It frames our lives like we're in some grand play. But the danger, as the source points out, is that sometimes we get so lost in playing our role as a boss, a parent, a friend, that we totally forget we're the actor behind the mask. And this is where the wisdom from Gurudev Sri Chitrabhanu gives us such a powerful perspective. He's basically saying, hey, don't get so lost in the part you're playing. Instead, at the end of the day, just step back, acknowledge your performance, learn from it, and give yourself a pat on the back. It's a beautiful call for some much-needed self-compassion. And so we end up right back where we began. From a single thought to our role on the world stage, everything starts from within. That path from thought to word to action is literally the most powerful creative force you have. So the only question left is, what thought are you going to turn into action today?